Welcome to the Director's Commentary podcast for Heart, the City Beneath. I'm Grant Howitt, and I'm joined by Christopher Taylor, and we wrote the Heart RPG. In these episodes, we'll be going through the text of the book and discussing how we came to design the game. For more information on Heart and our other titles, go to rrdgames.com. Hello and welcome to the podcast. We're doing some classes now, which I think is probably the most exciting part of the game, as far at least from a mechanical point of view.
It's the good bit.
It's the good bit. Like that's why you read a game for the classes, isn't it?
100%.
So strap in. So we're going to do the Cleaver.
Cleaver!
Now listen, last episode we complained a lot about how hard it was to write role-playing games. That is not going to abate for the Cleaver.
Good God.
Oof. So the Cleaver was a late addition to the game. It was a stretch goal.
Mm-hmm.
For the Kickstarter, and we had a sort of Heartsborn, like a Heartsblood person for a while, and then like we tried a few things. It's like, well, okay, so like they can eat enemies and gain their attacks, but that's really hard to balance. And also like they're of the place and they're born of it, and so they're not strangers to it. Sorry, there's a crow yelling outside my window. I've got my window open. It's far too hot. For any listeners, just endure the sounds of East London. And it was very difficult, so we just got rid of them and replaced them with the Witch, because the Witch was covering that human connection to the heart.
Yeah, and doing it from a more interesting angle.
Yeah, and then we said that we would write the Cleaver.
Mistake.
And we had to.
They made us.
Yeah, they made it. I mean, we made ourselves.
Yes, we did.
Give us all this. And also, I want to say I'm super happy that we did it, because the Cleaver's a really popular class. I think it's really like indicative of Heart in a really cool way. Plus,
don't
got that
get me
art.
wrong. It turned out real well.
It did. There was a period of about 2 months where we were like, what the fuck are we going to do for this fucking...
I hate this stupid class. Why did we promise anything?
I hate this and you. So we're going to get deep on this. So yeah, if you don't want to hear us talk in huge depth about the classes, listen to any other podcast on the internet.
And that's the Cleaver. Next.
Yep, next up. So we developed them, and we were trying to work out what it was that they were about, and we ended up redefining the Witch because the Cleaver existed. Yeah,
I'm super glad we did.
Yeah. Very much so. The Witch used to have the cursed domain, which is the domain of hearty things.
Mm-hmm.
Too many eyes, teeth, actively harmful shit, weird energies. And then we had the Cleaver, who also had that, and it was very difficult to sort of tell them apart. So the Witches became the occultists of the setting, aside from the Junk Mage, who was also an occultist, but they were like using magic and science and technology to interact with the heart, to channel, using arts, I suppose, to channel heart power into effects.
Yeah.
And Cleavers use their stomachs.
Yep, they just snack on shit.
They eat everything. We were really keen not to be like, oh, okay, and they're a noble savage or what have you, or they're a we didn't want to hit those narratives. What we wanted to do was take a ranger, not use all the ideas we'd already used for Deadwalker, who's the other ranger, and sort of work something out with that.
Yeah, and like let's start here with the art, because I think actually this is quite important.
Yeah.
So firstly, that weapon that he's holding is real. I did a search for, I think it was massive cleavers, and it's like a specific tool for a very specific purpose. Got like a 4-foot blade on it. It's massive.
I think it's for taking off whale skin.
Yeah, that's it. It's for cutting out whale skin.
It's a massive flensing knife. Yeah,
it's a terrifying thing. And the second we found that, like, this is it. This is the defining weapon.
Yeah,
it's so gross as an item, and I love the fact that it's inscribed.
Don't know with what.
I can't read. It doesn't matter.
Recipes, I presume.
Yeah.
I would also like to directly thank Will Cornish, who's one of the mods on our own Rook and Deckard Discord, and a friend, both of ours, honestly. Will heard about the Cleaver and then went just balls into it.
Just
balls
really
deep, just absolutely went into it, and they ended up sort of defining what the Cleaver was.
Yes. Honestly, overall, if you think there's something you like about the Cleaver, it was probably Will's idea.
Yeah, they just started talking really publicly about how cool it was to be a Cleaver, and we were like, oh, these are some good ideas. Let's have these.
Yeah, let's pretend we thought of it already.
Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, the two we went back and forth on what the Cleave would have. Like, it was the last class we wrote. We wrote it like where we were veering towards deadline. Hopefully, it doesn't show too much, but it was tricky to try and once we've written all the other classes, it was tricky to come up with some other stuff which would still feel fresh and different.
Yeah, to like
and it
recreate
does.
a niche.
Yeah, it does. Mainly because they have protection equal to the level of the heart they're on.
Yeah. Which was the huge turning point in working out what the hell this class did.
Once you hit tier... So if you are, for example, in tier 4 of the heart, you don't take unarmed damage.
Doesn't happen.
Why? That's that's so far beyond... And like you barely notice knives when you're at tier 3.
Yeah, it's terrifying how much protection they get.
It doesn't stack, so there's a balance in that, we hope. The idea is it gave them a ranger thing, that the further they go into the frontier, the further they go away from civilization, the more powerful they become. It was quite a clean way of doing that. I remember we both went off to the bathroom for 5 minutes in our separate houses, and then Chris came back, and I'd written it, and I was like, Chris, I've got it!
It was a very important bathroom trip.
It was a very important, but I will say separate bathrooms. We didn't go to the same. We lived
many miles apart.
We also have the Red Feast, which has the phrase "Your crucible guts pluck memories from the meat," which is probably the best sentence I'll ever write.
Yeah, I think mine's in the mission stage.
Cleavers can't really get domains in the same way as everyone else.
No.
In fact, you can get desolate and wild. So you can get desolate and wild. Everyone else gets access to 3 or 4. They get access to 2, but they can eat anything. And if it's got the associated domain, they get the domain.
Well, I mean, they can take Dominion, but that's largely a waste of.
Advance. In fact, let's talk about that. Actually, let's talk about the intentional traps we put in our game.
So, in Cleaver, there's Dominion, which is gain access to one of the following domains. There's Gut Instinct, gain access to one of the following skills. And where's the other one? Where's the protection one? I've lost it in my own book. Inhuman. It's the immediate one next to it. Mm-hmm. And all classes get access to a variant of this.
Yeah, everyone's missing one.
Everybody's missing at least one. Yeah, some people more than one, I believe. Mm-hmm. And what this is essentially is a minor ability dump. If you want to do a very specific build feels like the wrong sort of.
If you want to make a very specific character.
Yeah, if you want to make a very specific sort of character, and it's an edge case for what the class at the beginning can do. Then you take one of these to just shift you. Like, it makes sense in a way that Cleavers could get wild. Occult is a bit more difficult and religion, because it requires some level of training often.
And it isn't part of the core idea we have for the class, like the image of them.
Yeah.
But it's quite a cool idea to play a religious Cleaver.
Absolutely. And the idea that you could then just pick up what you wanted. If you pick these up as one of your first level ones, you are a fool.
You're an absolute fool. Get one of the other ones, they're better.
Yeah, just get one of the other ones to begin with. But it lets you wiggle your way into different stuff if you want to.
Yeah.
And it felt really bad to limit people when we could just let them have stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, you also, so Dominion, you can't get technology. Gut Instinct, you can get all of them, actually, I believe. I think that's the one class where you can get all of the skills. And in Human, you can't get mind protection.
Yeah, which makes sense.
If you look at whatever protection you can't get, that's how we want to hurt you.
Yeah.
So we want Cleavers to be fully mad.
And also that's a really good thing for GMs playing through this. Like, if you look at the 3 domain skills and protection abilities that each class gets, when your group has picked their classes, the ones that are absent are how you hurt them. Mm-hmm. And it's designed that way so that everybody has this weak point. And it's, generally speaking, the downfall of their class. Like, you're not going to starve out a Cleaver, but you are going to drive them mad. Each
of the Cleavers' eventual theme came out of the Monstrous Manual, the Bestiary. Nope, the Adversaries chapter.
That's the one.
Came out the Adversaries chapter because we ended up with the idea that they've absorbed parts of the underworld into them. So let's say, for example, Unmaking Claws is taken from the Angel adversary. The Fractured Form is taken from the Mirror Spiders adversary. Pitch Skin is taken from the Pitchkin.
Pitchkin from Pitchkin.
Which lets you, 1, sneak more effectively, and 2, you get a sort of explosive glue coming out of your pores.
Yeah, which is just so abusable.
Yeah, very much so. The model for building these was that you get a skill, you get a domain, and then in addition to that, you get some sort of side benefit, and it's generally quite small, but it gives you something to play with.
Yeah, it gives you a story note. It gives you a story note or a little fracture of spotlight time. Like fell metabolism gives you endure, which is fine. Endure is really useful, but it's mechanical, it's boring. But when you use your Red Feast, you may choose to have your attacks gain the brutal tag for a number of actions equal to the amount rolled on the resource dice instead of gaining a domain. That just gives you, on average, sort of like 3 or 4 attacks with brutal for a while.
Just for eating anything you happen to have on you.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, which is pretty neat, I think. We've also got this symbiotic vessel give you the capacity to, like, you get +2 echo or +2 fortune protection. And those are ways to make your character safe. I think there's an element of I personally am not interested in them. I think that we wanted to give people the option to invest in their characters and say, well, I want to be protected from this sort of thing. I find stories much more interesting when I'm completely unprotected.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is what it protects against. So symbiotic is fortune and vessel is echo. Now, what's quite interesting about the Cleavers is because of their class ability, they make quite good tanks. If you need somebody to soak up a load of damage, just shove it on the Cleaver, as long as you're deep enough. And symbiotic and vessel make it easier for them to get deep enough in the heart for that power to really make a big difference. Because once you're at tier 3, these are useless. Because your other ability is higher, so it supersedes it. As the power says, it doesn't stack with anything.
I quite like the idea of like because it doesn't stack, you're in tier 3, you're superseding all your powers. It's becoming more of you.
Yeah,
it's an interesting idea about control there.
So the first major ability, Bloodbound Beast, had the best comment from our editor on it.
Yes, absolutely.
It was just tagged, and the very last minor is called Faithful Until the End. And normally we get things like, did you mean this, in a comment? You know, like, did you want this word here, and all this stuff moved around. This just read, you monsters. Because Bloodbound Beast gives you, you gain the Bloodbound tag on all your weapons as you and your companion work in concert. You can power up by fighting with a companion of some form, a ragged cryptid, which is just a lovely way of describing it. Essentially, you get a ranger's pet.
Yeah,
Great.
And it grants you mastery if you take some stress to blood.
Yeah, you can mess about it, do some fighting. Or, if you take critical fallout, like, remember, that kills you, removes you from the game, you don't die. Instead, the companion drags you to safety. And then this is the crucial part. Your companion dies in your arms, exhausted and wounded after you regain consciousness. It's not like... Yeah, it's not like, the blast, the dog died. No, the dog dragged itself out of that blast so that you could watch. And it's the only ability.
The six-legged pig with a man's face dragged you out of it.
Remove Bloodbound Beast from your character sheet and gain an immediate major advance. So you swap it out for another major. You can never access this again. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm happy with that one.
It's so lovely and sad.
And
I can't believe people don't take it.
Yeah, that'd be my first port of call. I think. There's lots of cool stuff you can do with Cleavers,
and that's the key. That's the thing we want to do with all the classes.
Well, that's the thing we want to do with all of our games.
Yeah, in the classes we wanted it to be that you look at one thing and go, how could you not take this? This is the default choice, and then you look at the next one and go, well, I don't understand. How could you not take this? And you not have the ability to hold all of them, essentially.
Chimeric Strain is very mechanical.
Yeah.
It's a barbarian power.
It's rage, yeah.
Yeah, it's rage. And you can choose to so you mark default stress to echo. You might have echo soak, which is nice as well.
Yeah.
And you get brutal and you get weird. And so with weird tags, that means that you mark D6 echo stress when you roll maximum damage. And you're more likely to do that because you've got the brutal tag. So you roll 2 dice and pick the highest. And then you can stack stuff on it.
Yeah. Up
until the point where you are, where are we? You're doing you increase your damage by 1 step. You gain +2 blood protection. You ignore the effects of blood fallout, and you get brutal on the attack. So you're an absolute nightmare. However, you mark D10 stress to echo to activate it. Says the option that you stride boldly forward into combat and then immediately vomit up a dog that hates you,
and immediately then kill that dog.
Yes.
Because what's quite nice is that the base power, I realise tier 4 is very deep in the heart, but
endgame,
the further you go down in the heart, the more free this power is.
Yeah.
So you can activate the base version just all the time. Like, you can be this transmuted form of chimeric strain 100% of the time.
Yeah.
You don't turn it off. There's no point. You only have to worry about it when you up the level of changed you are. But again, like, if you activate 1, it's a D6.
You can do that.
You can take that, right? Like, that's like, if you've got 4 protection, that's probably not going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Like, if you roll 6, that's 2. Otherwise, it's free, you know? And again, 10. There's quite a good likelihood you're going to get between 1 and 4. Take a little bit of stress here and there, it's fine. And it's that kind of gambling addiction. Like, your class is built to actually sustain the strain that this puts on you. However, when it goes wrong, it's going to go badly wrong. And it's up to you to just, bet on red or black, basically.
I would like to thank the people at, I think, is it Konami or Capcom who made Monster Hunter?
Yes.
I would like to thank the developers of Monster Hunter.
Yes, them.
For Extinction Bow. Because it is a name directly out of Monster Hunter and a power directly out of Monster Hunter. And then we give you a really big bow.
We just went through the wiki for Monster Hunter.
We did that for a while, actually, yeah.
There's some real dumb weapons in that game.
Yeah. We don't really have much in the way of ranged powers in the game.
No.
I don't find range very interesting in story games.
No, because you can't, watch the life go out of their eyes.
Absolutely. Also,
unless you're there with a really creepy telescope.
The main reason is that you can't, like, all distance is abstracted and fictional.
Yeah. As
opposed to, okay, well, I'm 30 foot away from you, so I know that I can outrange you and blah, blah, blah. We don't have much in the way of ranged powers. Most of it's handled by you have a gun or what have you. You can make your gun do better things. But with this, you can attach yourself to a nightmarish carrion pig with the harpoon, and it has no particular power. Harpoon. I love this. Once per situation, when you inflict stress on an adversary with the extinction bow, you attach yourself to them with a rope or chain. They can't flee while attached. Neither can you.
Narratively, that's so useful.
Mechanically, doesn't fucking matter.
Garbage mechanically, doesn't matter. Yep.
Yeah, it's one per situation. So every fight you get into, and sometimes when you're not in fights, it's very exciting.
The other key one here for me is Nightmare Arrow.
Nightmare Arrow.
Which is very much the alt-fire mode for one of the bows in Monster Hunter.
Oh, yeah?
So you either fire a really big projectile. Like, that's the kill D10 tiring, ranged, expensive is what the extinction bow does. The Nightmare Arrow gives you kill D8 spread, ranged, one shot. And it either I guess you're strapping dynamite to the end, or it's like a submachine gun, whatever.
It's pretty vague as to what the Nightmare Arrow is.
Yeah, it's just blackness. It's just filth curling out from the arrow. But it's horrible, and it just hurts everything. And it's wonderful.
And then we've got Monstrous Appetite, which focuses more on the Red Feast ability, and like you'll see as we go through, a lot of mages take some core element of the class and play with it.
Yeah.
So there's this, you say, oh, I really want to be about eating things, so you can heal, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
You can only heal if you eat 2 of something. You have to eat it the first time to understand it.
Yes. So
it's not especially cheap. But you also got things like you can bump your protection. Crucially, absolutely most crucially, because like we had rejuvenation and we had tainted meat, and we were really struggling to try and understand what the third power was. And then we were like, oh, what if you just bit the leg off an angel?
Yeah.
So, Horrendous Bite, once per situation, when you inflict stress with an unarmed attack on an adversary, you may choose to lower the difficulty by 1 step to a minimum of standard until the end of the situation. Danger and risky actions. Difficulty is really nightmarishly hard in Heart.
Oh, it's brutal.
And this lets you just bite people's legs off.
Yeah, being able to lower difficulty with just a basic ability is insanely good.
And then we have the Wild Hunt, which is a weird one, honestly. Like, this is a hunt aspected one, and we want to try and get kind of a community idea out of it.
Yeah, I think it was the last one we did, and the one that we always had to rename about 5 times because we had several Wild Hunt powers. We kept on finding.
There are 5 or 6 abilities called Wild Hunt.
Yeah, and it's an odd one.
It is strange, but I think it's the rangeriest one.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that you give people essentially a pep talk before going on a delve.
You're not allowed to do it in an area with the Haven tag, which I like.
Well, you can.
Sorry. It's risky if you do it in an area with the Haven tag.
Yeah, but you can give the hunt skill out, which is useful. But then you can start giving out the delve skill, which is incredible if you want to be if you've got a campaign where you want to be visiting a lot of places and moving around. Wild Hunt with Echoes of the City Beneath is one of the fastest ways to do it. So you increase the stress inflicted on delves by a step, which is crazy, and give people an extra dice for it if they don't have delve already.
Yeah, which is really beneficial.
You just blur through those. Storyteller is just gorgeous.
Storyteller, it's one of you'll notice something very similar in Venetian Night later on. But the idea you can declare that what you're fighting is a legendary named beast, and it gets significantly harder, but you get lots more effectively points for killing it.
Yeah, the resources that you consume and that you use to heal and everything like that go up 2 steps,
which is quite juicy.
Yep.
I really like the idea of everyone sort of like rolling their eyes as the Cleavers, like, it seems like we're tracking the legendary Kafengan. And there was no legendary there was no legendary beast before, but they've made it up, and now it is.
Yeah, and that segues nicely into the last one of Bounty Shared, which is when you complete a delve or a hunt, everybody who took part in it with you gets to remove stress from fortune or supplies. And I like the idea that like it's you're actually harvesting something from the kill, and so that's the supplies. Or it's just the fortune is just wonderful, as everybody's just like more confident now.
They're going to make fewer mistakes, and the heart is happy that you've done it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty neat. Like, it's strange, but it lets you be a party focused Cleaver, and I think there's the sensation with Cleavers that you want to be separate from the rest of the party.
It lends itself very well to being a leader and to being that kind of pathfinder. And leading the way into nightmares.
Now, Zenith abilities.
The 3 Zenith abilities rather than the 1 we started with, I think.
Yeah, everyone got 1 to start with, and then we were like, oh, actually... Well, no, I think the very first one we had, the Venetian Knight had 3. And only one of them killed him.
Yes, and that was a mistake. We need that to be
they're the ones which let you move very quickly or punch hard.
Yeah.
Whereas you'll see on Wield and Woe, to activate this ability, die.
Very upfront.
Okay, so technically, only one of them kills you immediately, which is Wield and Woe.
Yeah.
With Zeniths, I think we could talk about these in a broad sense. We wanted to give you a proper send-off.
Yeah, like, we wanted them as capstone abilities in both senses of the word. Like, we wanted it to be the top of a path, but also, like, the end.
I really love a good death. I think there's something incredibly cathartic about that, and in an age where we're feeling increasingly powerless, there's something liberating about being able to sell one's life in a powerful way, and we tried to do that with the Zenith abilities. So, Wield and Woe basically means you go to heaven.
Yep.
You awaken in the forest, which is one of the 8 heavens, which we'll talk about later, which is kind of the wild domain.
Yeah, like the archetypal wild domain.
Yes, it is. It is the heaven that primitive hunter-gatherers went to. Basically, it's just a bigger, more dangerous version of normal. In a big forest, and yeah, a giant fucking forest manifests around you, and all sorts of giant god beasts come and stomp around the place. And it's kind of a fuck you to the campaign, really. I think.
There's a bit, but it's nice. It's nice being able to make a new landmark.
Yes,
and having that permanent. And there's an important thing with Wield and Woe, which is the name Wield and Woe, because obviously it's a joke on Wheel and Woe, which is fine. But I was born in the Weald.
Oh, there you go.
You see, so that's why it's Wield and Woe.
Maybe you'll die there too.
God, dear God, I hope not.
We've also got like Legendary Beast, where you get to go and slay the beast.
It
and you
unlocks
kill it.
A quest that you succeed at.
You succeed at. Just listen, just tell us how it happens. We're not interested in you failing at this. You become a beast in a landmark, and then eventually someone will come and kill you.
Yep.
And the idea is that there's only ever one beast, and you just killed it, so now you're the beast.
Yeah, and like when we'll talk about the god beasts in the Adversaries chapter. But they're very much modelled on Shadow of the Colossus monsters. Not necessarily that size, but like that stone and antler and
moss.
Fur and moss and that kind of weird melding of architecture and creature.
Perhaps not the most iconic, but one of the most exciting, because we talk up the angels a lot
Yeah.
In this game and in Sanctum as well, you get to become an angel.
Yeah, you get to become one of the things feared most in the heart.
Which is exciting. You basically get the capacity to completely tear shit up, and odds are depending on what you were doing as a Heartsong Cleaver, you become an angel. Great, that's what you were going for. Then you fuck off into the heart as an Enlightenment Cleaver, as a Penitent Cleaver who becomes an angel. That's kind of exciting. What's powering that? You know, what's the story behind that?
Yeah,
we've given with the way we say is that we've given people the ability to set up some really cool explosive stories. Because also most people won't make it to Zenith. That's the other thing. We talk a big game, but you're not.
Zenith for campaign play, right? And while we talk a lot about arcs of 6 games, things like that, few people do that. A lot of people go for the more one-shotty end. You know, they do an adventure which takes a couple of sessions, or they go real long.
Yeah.
If you go real long, most people listening to this now are adults. You know what happens when you try and do a long campaign. You never finish it.
Yeah.
So Zeniths are something to aim for, but unless you're doing it accelerated or you've got a real clean schedule, getting to Zenith is a little bit harder.
I reckon you can get there in 6-7 games.
Oh, you can, but you've got to plan that as a GM.
Yeah, for sure.
You've got to be ready for 6 games, and most people don't. They let it run long.
Yeah. So that's Cleaver.
Yeah.
This ran a little bit longer than this will run a little bit longer than the rest of the classes because we talk about sort of the way in which things are set up here. We will be more brisk.
Fly through it. Barely mention anything.
Oh, barely. What is it? Deadwalker? Fight. Just skip Deadwalker. The next one. No, we will we'll probably be a bit brisker with the next one. But Cleaver, there's already a rich vein of mutant warrior hunters for us to draw on. Deadwalker we made up entirely.
Yes.
If you thought Cleaver was hard, wait till you hear us complain about Deadwalker. You've been listening to the Director's Commentary podcast for Heart, The City Beneath. I was Grant Howitt, and I was joined by Christopher Taylor, and we wrote the Heart RPG. For more information on Heart and our other titles, go to rrdgames.com.